Hello. Welcome. So, I wanted to recap a little bit on the last class we had. So, this is Charlene's notebook where we had our lesson together the night right before, and then we taught it. I'm going to use this page because she writes really neat and tiny, so it all fits into my screen. So, thank you, Charlene. You're awesome. So, this is in December, and we learned about this shape here. We learned that it's a shape, first of all, and we learned that shapes are 2D and they have height and width. You can also say the height and the width, or sometimes they call it the length. But our key thing for today is going from 2D into 3D. So we're going to add depth. So we're going to add that dimension in there. So we have height and we have length or width, which is left and right. And then what we did is we turned it on a diamond. When it goes from a square to a diamond, first of all, we started off knowing that we started with an equilateral, a square with four equal angles and four equal sides. So these marks help us understand that. Our angles are all different types of angles as we learn to draw into the third dimension. We have our right angles, obtuse is wider, obtuse even wider, and acute, which is closed. So this is how we see our angles, and this is a right angle because it's made as a square. Okay, so saying that, we started with an equilateral, and we turned it on its side, or we rotated a little, and that turned into a diamond. And we can identify that it's still the same when we turn it. And we put the inside markers to show the distance from each corner. And then we wanted to go here. So what we did is we tilted this diamond back. So if it was here, can you see it? And then we tilted it, it goes like that. So let's see if we can do that with the image. So if it was like a square, and then it tilted, you can see it goes back. So that's what we did here, is we shrunk this line that's here, we shrunk it in half and pinched it, and then we drew our lines on top to bring it down. So then once we did that, we went from, can you see that? Yeah. So this and this are the same, which this is one distance, and then halfway is the middle, so that's where we know to go up and down, but we don't go the same distance up and down, so we can measure with our pencil. We could go from there to my fingernail, so we could go here to here, and then connect the dots with one parallel line, two parallel line, and that gives us more of our square. And if you mess up, I don't want you to erase it. You can see we all sometimes go a little bit off of where we want to be, and that's why we draw light until we get it right, and then we draw it darker. Okay, so now this line is the same, but we're going to shrink it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this top line and we're going to cut it in half. Right? So if we had scissors and we cut it in half, so we cut that in half with scissors, and then we cut this one in half, and now we have the same distance, which is here to here, but this one was here, but we're going to do it half and half, and we make that mark. Now we connect the lines with our one parallel line, our two parallel lines, and now that shrunk this square down into a diamond that's squished, which is also the top of our shape. So then we have one parallel, two parallel, which we need to know where to start. start, so we take this line and continue it down. And this line here is the same as this line. So we have 1 parallel, 2 parallel, 3 parallel. Okay, so that's a box so far. This box is closed. Then we go over to the other side, and we say that's our parallel, that's a parallel, that's a parallel. But how far up and down do we, how far do we know how far this distance is? Well, whatever we did for this one and this one, they all need to be the same. So we look at all three of these, and then we say parallel, parallel, parallel. So now we have 1, 2, 3 parallels, 4, 5, 6 parallels, 7, 8, 9 parallels. So each line, so a parallel line is a line that goes next to each other and never touches. Okay, so it goes next to each other and never touches. So if I put a line here like this, eventually it would hit here. This line is not parallel to these 3 lines, so they can never touch. So now that we have this, what we can do is cut out a chunk from the middle. So all we do is come in a little on each corner and then draw this shape again. So we'll come in a distance, whatever distance you do. Make sure you do that on all the different sides. So I can see this one's a little off as well. Change it. Change it. And then draw light until you get it right. And now you go dark. And then this line in the back is going to come down. And that shows us the inside wall. And now we're at this point, so now we got to identify it. So dark. And we're going to learn a little bit more about shading next class. And you can see I could change my pencil and I could do on the side. So I could hold my pencil different ways. Dark, and then we have medium. Identify this wall and this wall. And we can erase the center, lighten up the top, and maybe erase some of those guidelines. And we could even give it a ground, so a base behind it. And we could even give it a shadow that comes off. So that way it's more three-dimensional. So we went from our square, which is our cube, or not our cube, our square, which is a shape that's 2D and that has height and width. That has height and width, 2D. We went to 3D because we added depth. We added from the front to the back. So we have our square, diamond, our rhombus, because we pinched it. Our rhombus is the top of our square, which is done by taking away half of this. And then we shade it in and give it value because we understand where the light source is. So again, don't worry right now for the light source because that's going to be on our value lesson. But this is the happy sun shining all its rays on this side, which hits the top, kind of hits this, doesn't hit this at all. And that is depth. So, contrast is the reaction between the dark and the light, materializing the vivid image. And that's what that was meaning by understanding contrast, which is between the dark and the light when they pop. And then over here, we have a little bit on perspective, which we didn't really get too far into, is as things go towards the background, they get smaller and bigger. So we'll learn a little bit about that. And we also went into a triangle My hand's a little constricted in my studio box, my recording box. So we can do the same thing. Kind of with our triangle. So draw it light until you get it right. Then when you like it, go ahead and throw in some contrast. You can see as it gets darker, it's more vivid. It pops out. Okay, so that's what we learned a little bit review. Quick 11 minutes, and yeah, send me some comments, show some likes, show some love, subscribe, share to a friend, and thank you for watching Joshua's or Drawing with Joshua's review. See you later. Check out the studio, lot 23. Don't forget, free classes for you. Supplies and materials, everything included. Come have a good time. I'll see you there. Send me a comment if you want to know more.